So to get started, this week I did a little bit of a different blog post about growing up as a Filipino-American. So gonna talk more about my college experience here. So with that, there's a couple of things. The biggest one was during my freshman year. There's a lot of things, but mainly PACN, which is Filipino-American Cultural Night. And that whole experience at UC Irvine with the Brent Events Center and me going through countless hours of practicing this one traditional dance with the Moro Suite. So for Filipino culture, there's a wide number of influences, and it was great just having this opportunity in college to interact with a lot of other people who were Filipino American or not and were just interested in hanging out and participating with the Filipino club called Kaba Modern. So Kaba Modern, as I mentioned in my blog post, it means fellow townmate in Tagalog, which is the official language of the Philippines. And there's a lot of different dialects, there's a lot of different cultural influence just for the Philippines in general. But for the cultural night, I was pretty happy with not just practicing, having fun, learning how to dance and stuff, but getting to watch Kaba Modern. So I talked about it during my blog posts. I did include a little bit about my experience with being in this classroom where it was orientation. I hadn't even started college yet, and just being in this classroom in the meeting for the Filipino club, Kaba Modern, and then watching Kaba Modern, and then having class at 8 a.m. the next day. It was an awesome experience, just going through that and having my mind blown like that. But yeah, there's so much I can say just about, not just Kaba Modern, but like all the other Filipino organizations that are mainly academically related, but I'm going to give them a shout out. So there's some other groups like PUSO, Filipinos United. It's a health, pre-med health organization. I'm gonna butcher all the acronyms, but I just want to say all of them first. So there's PUSO, PAS, which is more for social studies, and then Fusion, more for engineers. And the reason I knew more about those organizations was because during my second year, I took upon a pretty big leadership role for the umbrella of these Filipino organizations. So the umbrella itself was called Alianza ng Mga Kababayan. So through that role, I had a lot of responsibilities. One of them was being a facilitator for meetings with delegates from the different Filipino clubs, and then also actively participating with the Cross-Cultural Center, which is sort of like the diversity center for UC Irvine, and this thing called Umbrella Council. So Kaba Modern there's a lot of history with that organization in general, and how that's tied in with UC Irvine and the Cross-Cultural Center during its founding. There's a lot of history. I'm not going to try to go too in-depth with that, but I definitely want to talk about my experience. So with this thing called the Umbrella Council through the Cross-Cultural Center, I was involved with some different things that were definitely more political in nature, like student government, and how that led to me taking upon those roles in the future during my third, fourth year as an undergraduate. But with the Umbrella Council, there were some really interesting things that we worked on back then, and one of them, which fortunately is something that turned out beautifully, it's called SOAR, Student Outreach and Retention Center, and that's something that exists on the UC Irvine campus now, and just how I was involved back then, just going to these meetings. I wasn't the member of that portion of the council, but I was attending those meetings with the student government, with different members of the faculty on campus, and just those behind closed doors meeting, trying to get this thing to happen and to actually see it come into fruition was a huge achievement, a huge accomplishment. But of course, it didn't stop there. So for the current UC Irvine students, please do make use of that facility, the SOAR Student Outreach and Retention Center. So there's a lot that I could talk about. I'm just touching upon a little bit here, but the biggest thing as far as like transformative experiences, there was this one thing called the Student of Color Conference, which was held at UCSD during my second year. So that was around 2009, 2010 or so. And just learning about these different issues that really aren't discussed. Just having these eye-opening workshops and meeting different like-minded individuals who were interested in just sharing about our culture and just the different types of largely political issues. So one of the things I did want to mention is, like, for Asian Americans in general, you wouldn't necessarily think about it, but this concept of like Asian Americans in prison and how different ethnicities just within the branch of the Asian race, just different ethnicities like Southeast Asians are impacted by the current policies with education and services received and whatnot. So I'm not doing it justice here. I'm just trying to mention a few things, but I really enjoyed my time as a leader at UC Irvine, and just having this period of growth that really you don't get within a classroom setting, and feeling like I'm trying to flesh myself out and just trying to grow and mature as a person. I think that's one thing that benefits anyone in general, especially if you consider pursuing a higher degree, a higher level of education, like myself with physical therapy, but just for anyone in general. So that's the biggest thing that I wanted to discuss. So I'm going to go back a little bit to my being a little fanboy about Kaba Modern. What was great about that experience participating with PACN, the cultural night, and those practices was just getting to meet people and like know people, hear their stories, and feeling connected. I think that's one of the biggest things with like events, like networking and whatnot. It sounds like an abstract thing, but yeah, it's just like I can't do justice with words about how it felt to have people who share like the same level of understanding or just this sense of cultural dissonance that I had with being Filipino-American and not learning Tagalog. So to finish up, there was one really big issue that I wanted to address as a leader that unfortunately I wasn't able to accomplish. One of the things I wanted to do while I was an undergrad student was trying to push for Filipino-American studies, and definitely a course on Tagalog for the campus. So with that goal in mind, I became more involved with student government in something called, so I was basically within student government, I became involved with this branch known as the Academic Senate, and I became involved with that council as the undergraduate representative so that I could learn more about what's going on behind those closed doors and then what it would take to push for Filipino studies and Tagalog. And so that's one of the biggest issues during my time in college, and I'm sure it's still an issue now, that we were pushing for, and just being able to talk with some pretty cool individuals who I won't mention everyone here because I literally cannot name everyone that influenced me during college, but having this huge goal, this huge vision that didn't necessarily work out, but trying to work on some long-term issues as a leader, and with an undergraduate experience and just the yearly annual turnover, trying to transition those over to the new leaders. I think that's one of the biggest experiences that I am grateful for and appreciate, because that's a huge influence for me and what I want to do, what I want to get out of life, and how I want to push myself professionally as a future physical therapist and with what I want to do. So I just wanted to talk about that. I can't see everybody right now or all the comments. I'm trying to see the comments and stuff. But anyways, oh, hey, C'est la vie. Thanks for joining in. And I'm going to leave this at here for this week. So it's been a crazy week. I've been trying to get back into school mode with just getting my classes on schedule, trying to figure out the different assignments and whatnot, but you'll still see a bit of me. I'm not sure exactly how much, still trying to fine-tune all my social media process and whatnot, but I hope you at least enjoy seeing my face and just having more of an interaction than reading my blog posts. So that's that for now, trying to make this more personable and interactive. So thank you for joining in, and hope you have a good one. Thanks Mike. Thanks C'est la vie. All right, peace.